93% of the time. That's how often Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney voted with former President Donald Trump. But interestingly, 93% wasn't good enough for Wyoming Republicans. Not even close. This week, primary voters in Wyoming selected Cheney's challenger, Trump-backed Harriet Hageman, by a margin of 37 points. Wyoming's largest newspaper, the Casper Star-Tribune, noted that her loss marked the first time a Cheney has lost an election in Wyoming in nearly half a century. Now, only 2 House Republicans who voted to impeach Donald Trump will be on the ballot in November. Here's Cheney in her own words on why she lost her seat.
2 years ago, I won this primary with 73% of the vote. I could easily have done the same again. The path was clear. But it would have required that I go along with President Trump's lie about the 2020 election. It would have required that I enable his ongoing efforts to unravel our democratic system and attack the foundations of our republic.
So Liz Cheney has cut an interesting figure in American politics. On the one hand, she's a supporter of just about every Republican position on domestic and foreign policy. On the other hand, she's positioned herself as a defender of American democracy, as the co-chair of the 1-6 committee investigating the insurrection. After everything, Liz Cheney remains a Republican who is trying to stop Donald Trump. So what does her ouster from the ranks of the congressional GOP mean for the party going forward? Here to help me answer that question is Tara Setmeyer. She's a senior advisor for the Lincoln Project. She's also a resident scholar at the UVA Center for Politics. Tara, it's an honor to have you on the show. Truly, you're the person who I thought would be so critical to help us navigate these particular waters. I want to start off by playing this really short clip that provides a window into the politician Liz Cheney is. This is her talking about waterboarding in 2021.
Waterboarding, a.k.a. torture.
Well, it's not torture.
But you support waterboarding.
I do. Absolutely.
So, Tara, there's that old saying, right? Politics makes strange bedfellows. But what does it say about the political moment at this time that some Democrats are supporting Liz Cheney, despite positions that they clearly found to be deplorable, like her stance on torture and abortion?
Well, you know, Katie, it speaks to the gravity of the moment concerning the threat that our democracy is currently under, thanks to the rise of Trumpism. It's really extraordinary to think that just a few short years ago, Liz Cheney was considered political royalty in the Republican Party. I mean, if you're a Cheney, you're part of some of the most important Republican family dynasties in politics. Just a few short years ago, she went from political royalty to now a political pariah in the Republican Party. And what was her cardinal sin? It was simply standing up to Donald Trump, standing up to the election lie, and actually embodying what Republicans and conservatives claimed they used to stand for, at least traditionally, which was rule of law, the Constitution, and any existential threats to our election system in our constitutional republic. That was her sole sin. And it shows you that the fact that Democrats have been so supportive of her, that the idea of defending our democracy against these threats, it supersedes party loyalty, at least for Democrats. Unfortunately, we have not seen the same thing on the Republican side. They have chosen Trumpism over our democracy, authoritarianism over democracy. And Liz Cheney's ouster in such dramatic fashion, I think, is the most glaring example of that.
Tara, I want to play a piece of tape that shows just what Liz Cheney was up against in her race with Hageman. First, we're going to hear Hageman alleging that Cheney did not concede. Then we're going to hear for ourselves that Cheney did, in fact, concede. Take a quick listen.
Well, there wasn't a phone call. While I was going in and getting ready to do my acceptance speech last night and had just arrived at the watch party, she called and left a very brief 2-second message on my cell phone. That's the extent of it. I haven't had any other contact with Liz Cheney. She only made the one effort, and all she said was, "Hello, Harriet," and then that was the end of it. So she didn't call and discuss with me any kind of concession.
Hi, Harriet. Liz Cheney calling. It's about 8:13 on Tuesday the 16th. I'm calling to concede the election and to congratulate you on the win. Thanks. Bye-bye.
So, Tara, Harriet Hageman then produced her own tape showing that Cheney just left a voicemail right there saying, you know, hi, alleging that she only said hi. It could have just been a technical issue. But let's be clear. Tara, come on. Did Hageman really think that Liz Cheney called her just to say hi? My problem with all of this is the fact it's such a minor, trivial thing. But it seems to have become emblematic of the Republican Party right now, that they would sit there and that Harriet Hageman would make a big deal about a failure to hear in the entirety of a concession message from Liz Cheney.
It's just so asinine, but it's part of the MAGA character structure. They're liars. We already know this. Being a liar and being full of it, a conspiracy theorist kook, is all part of the defining characteristics of Trumpism and the MAGA world. And there it was, again, on full display. I mean, this woman is not serious. This is someone who actually, in a video that we've seen recently come out, where she accused President Biden of being a human trafficker. So she traffics in QAnon conspiracy theories. I mean, the contrast between her and Liz Cheney is so incredibly stark that it makes you just sit back and go, really, Wyoming? Do better. Come on, you guys. Like, what are you doing here? But the voters have spoken and they've made their choice. The fact that this is even a discussion, that she would just go out there and lie, it goes to show you that that is part of the agenda. It's all about obfuscation. It's all about mistruths. It's all about falsehoods. And it's BSing their supporters into believing these lies. That's how we got January 6th. And there it is, a microcosm of it, as something as simple, provably false, as lying about Liz Cheney conceding. Plus, Liz Cheney has too much class to not actually concede. So once again, it's just at least she had enough sense to make sure it was recorded, because they probably anticipated that the other side would do something like this. So good for them. At least
the fact that you actually had to do that, right, Tara? The fact that you had to anticipate that was going to be a move from Harriet Hageman's,
welcome to 2022.
So welcome to 2022. I wonder what's keeping Liz Cheney within the GOP. Because Cheney on Wednesday formed a new PAC. She's calling it the Great Task. She said she's thinking of running for president in 2024. She doesn't have to join the Democratic Party. She could run as a third-party candidate, perhaps even start her own party, maybe. I mean, but what do you see is the political future for somebody like Liz Cheney?
Well, we already know the Herculean effort it would be to start a third party. I mean, the amount of money, ballot access, and this close to a 2024 election would be really, really difficult without being self-financed with Bloomberg or Bezos type money. However, Liz Cheney has, again, like I mentioned earlier, she's part of a political dynasty in the Republican Party that refuses to cede the history of the Republican Party to MAGA and Trumpism. And I think she finds it part of her duty and responsibility and public service to fight for those Republican principles and to try to bring them back. So I don't see her even just politically practical for her to switch parties or run as an independent, because as an independent, she could be a spoiler in a general election. No one wants that. She said that she's going to do everything in her power to make sure Donald Trump does not step foot near the Oval Office again. And I join her in that effort, as do many of other former Republicans who don't ever want to see him near the Oval Office again. But I think that what she can be is actually the conscience of the Republican Party and really be a thorn in the side of Donald Trump and all of these hypocritical Republicans, from Kevin McCarthy on down, who've been too cowardice to stand up to Trumpism and instead have ceded the party now to MAGA. So she right now, I believe, is more powerful today, losing her election, than she was before that. Because now she is unconstrained. She can go out there and say what she wants and force these Republicans to face the choice that they made. She is their mirror. And that can be a really compelling and powerful force for them.
Tara, as a former Republican myself, I left the GOP in 2016 to become an independent, and then I joined the Democrats in 2018. I have to ask you, how would you describe your own personal political evolution? How much of it has been informed by the election of Donald Trump in 2016, the taking of the MAGA, the ultra extremism MAGA out of the, outside of that tent and kind of making them the mainstream in the Republican Party? Do you think that your own political evolution has been informed by those factors, among maybe others?
100%. I have to admit, as someone who's been a Republican since she was 16 years old, watching the evolution or devolution of the Republican Party over the last few years has been really extraordinary and disappointing and hurtful. And not only watching the party devolve into this disgraceful pro-authoritarian, almost fascist organization now that has no respect for any of the principles that they claim that they believed, that I grew up believing, that I fought for decades. That all went out the window in order to maintain political power. That has been a shock, really, to me. But nonetheless, it was an easy decision once I saw that Donald Trump was continuing to be the titular head of the Republican Party, and that Republican leaders were willing to compromise basic tenets of the Constitution right after he denied losing the election and started the election lie. That was it for me, finally. I mean, I wanted to be a part of it, along with my good friend Michael Steele and some others who thought that we from within could reform the party. But once I saw that everything was malleable, everything was on the table with Republicans to throw out the window in order to maintain power and to suck up to Trump, I said, that's it. So, I mean, I'm still, ideologically conservative and more in the traditional pre-Trump era Republican, establishment Republican, Bush's and the Reagan type Republican. But there's no home for me right now. I'm not a Democrat. I won't be joining the Democratic Party. I'm technically politically homeless. I'm unaffiliated, but that's okay. I vote for Democrats now because there aren't any Republicans worthy of my vote, because the Democratic Party, although I may disagree with certain policies, they are not an existential threat to our democracy. And that is all that matters to me right now, because without our democracy, no policy issue matters if everything else goes down.
Well, Tara, sometimes when you hit the rock bottom, as they say, there's only one way to go, and that's up. So let's see what happens to the current Republican Party. Tara Setmayer, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.